Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll be sharing a beautiful crocheted seasonal blouse tutorial. I made it as a blouse, but you can also make it into a cardigan or vest. I'd like to show you the pattern up close. Look, I used a batik colored yarn like this. You can make this project with any yarn you like. A very enjoyable example. This model also went very well with this one. It turned out really well. This cast-on design is a wonderful example. Look, I want to show you the hem here. We only sampled a hem here. It created a beautiful look using the same pattern. Of course, you can make it longer. You can leave slits along the sides. Look, I didn't leave a slit on this side. It's completely made. It's made of two pieces joined together. It's two rectangular pieces. I also want to show you the sleeve detail. Look at it. I didn't do any work on the sleeve. I left it chained like this. Look, the collar is still the same. Both the front and back of our knit look the same. I think this design would work for sizes 38, 42, even a 44. It did stretch a bit after ironing. You can make any adjustments you like to suit your size. Before we move on to the detailed recipe, I'd like to make a small request. I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to our channel for free, like the video, and leave a comment. Let's move on to the recipe. I bought the yarn I used for my knitting from Aqsa Knitting Boutique. For those curious, I'll add their contact information in the video description. These were 100-gram skeins. The yarn was 400 meters long. Look, I want to show the texture up close. It's a colorful yarn. You don't necessarily have to have this yarn. You can work with different yarns. It's entirely up to your taste. Thickness or thinness doesn't matter. You can use any yarn you like. Look at the third skein. I'm using my yarn now. I've opened the third skein. I use very little of the ball of yarn. I don't use too much. It's worth noting that of course the amount of yarn you use will vary depending on the size you're making. You can make your own adjustments according to your size, according to your yarn. The important thing here is to understand the model and its logic. Now when I was working with this yarn, my crochet hook size was 3 millimeters. You can determine your own crochet hook size according to the thinness and thickness of the yarn you'll use, the density and looseness of your knitting. Now here I'll be explaining the model to you with a different yarn, a cotton yarn, a very easy example. Now, depending on the length we'll be making after our chain, we'll need to stretch our chains a bit longer here. This is because we're building the model first. We won't waste any time counting chains. If we have any leftover chain, we can cut or remove it. Let's stretch our chains a bit longer here. Look, I've made enough of my chain based on my eyeball. Now I'm turning the chain, not the straight part, but the reverse. We'll start our work using the dotted lines at the back. I'm wrapping it around my hook. I'm slipping into the first chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I cast on a stitch. Look, I have 3 stitches. I'm wrapping them around my hook. I'm wrapping them around each other again. I'm making a double crochet by knitting them together. Now I'm going up with 3 chains. I'm wrapping my hook, I'm coming back and inserting it into the slot I created here. I've cast on a stitch, I'm working a double crochet. I'm stuffing. I come to the same space, I'm working another double crochet. I'm wrapping again, I'm working another double crochet in the same space. After the chain, we've worked 3 double crochets. Now I'm working my hook, 1, 2, 3 at the bottom. I'm slipping into the 4th chain. Look, I left 3 chains. I slipped into the 4th chain. I'm slipping a stitch, double crochet again. Look, we're looking at this. After the double crochet, 1, 2, 3 chains, I'm working my hook. I'm going back and working 3 double crochets here immediately. 1, 2, and 3. If you think I'm working too fast at this stage, you can slow down the video or watch it in its entirety. You can also watch it by speeding up the reverse. After 3 double crochets, I wrapped it around the hook. I count from the next chain. I slip into the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th chain and work a double crochet, then chain 3. I fill the set and go back into the space I created. Look at this triangle here. I knit 3 double crochets at once. 2 or 3 models will continue like this. Look, we are always expanding the model by progressing like this. In this work here, I set up 62 models. Here we set up 1, 2, 3 models. Here I set up 62 models. The 62 models gave me a length of 90 centimeters. Then I repeated the pattern in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 rows. The 13-row model gave me a length of 26 centimeters without ironing. This is the measurement I took in centimeters. Of course, if you use different ropes, you can adjust your yarn to your desired size. We're knitting 2 of this piece. This is the measurement of 1 piece, so when the 2 pieces are joined, you can adjust the size to your size. Now let's complete our row. Look, we're extending the pattern like this. Now 3 patterns will suffice. As I said, I worked 62 patterns in the large piece. Now I'm going to hook again, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm slipping into the chain, slipping off the stitch, and finishing my row with a double crochet. This is how the row ends. We'll turn with 5 chains each time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will never change. Always 5. We will make our turns by pulling the chain. We turned our knitting model. See the sharp point? 3 handrails here, the 3 chain gap here. I will immediately sink into the space between the chain and handrail. I am sinking directly. I made a loop. I knit frequent needles. There are 3 chains in between. 1, 2, 3. Right next to the model. Look, I'm sinking into the wide 3 chain gap. Single crochet. There are 3 chains in between. We start with 5 chains at the beginning. The middle is always 3 chains. 1, 2, 3. See, in the last pattern, I'm working a single crochet into the 3 chain treble clef and finishing here. 2 chains at the end. I'm working into 1, 2. I'm working into 2 crochets just for this row. Look, I've worked these treble clefs right here. There's a treble clef right there. The next chain is right there. I'm inserting into that chain right there. I've pulled off a loop. I'm working a double treble clef. Because it's a corner, I'm inserting here to make a neat finish. In the following rows, we'll finish by inserting into 1 or 2 third chains. It will be easier to understand when we do it now. Now chain 5 again, 2, 3, 4, 5. We said that we always turn with 5 chains. We turned our knitting. Now I'm filling in the hook. 1 row. Look, the pattern consists of 2 rows. 1 row with double crochet, 1 row with chain stitch. Now after 5 chains, I'm filling in the hook. I'm inserting the first single crochet that comes up right on top. I'm working a double crochet. I've created my first nest. Now chain 3. I'm pulling it and wrapping it around my hook. Go back and look. I'm knitting 3 double crochets right here in this slot. 1 until and 3. I worked 3 double crochets, then I wrap it directly around my hook. Look, there are no chains in between. During the double crochets, after the double crochet, I wrap it around my hook. I insert into the next single crochet space. I immediately insert into the single crochet above the pattern and repeat the same pattern. First, I worked my double crochet, chain 1, 2, 3. I wrap it around my hook. Look, I go back again and work 3 double crochets into my space. 1, 2, and 3. I wrap it around my hook. 1 double crochet into the next single crochet, then 3 chains. I wrap it around my hook and go back and fill in my 3 double crochets. Once you grasp the logic behind the pattern, you can work it however you like. Look, we've worked the same way for the third pattern. Now after the double crochet, I'm working directly onto the hook. Now we have 5 chains here. Look at the end. What am I doing? We'll slip into the third chain at a time, into the first, second, third chain. Let's not get this mixed up with the first, second, third chain. Look, I'm slipping into the first, second, third chain and finishing my row with a double crochet. Look, we finished our row like this. Now I've chained 5, then chained 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and turned my stitch. Now I'm immediately inserting the stitch into the chain space at the top of the pattern. single crochet, 3 chains in the middle, 1, 2, 3. I immediately insert single crochet into the top of the pattern, 1, 2, 3 chains. We continue single crochet to the top of the pattern. Now what do I do when finishing here? I fill in 2 chains with my hook. We were already inserting at the bottom of the pattern. What's next? There are 5 chains. After 2 chains, you can count from this bottom. I insert into the 3rd chain and end my row with a double crochet. Look, from now on, 1, 2, 3. Insert into the chain and finish the row. The pattern will continue like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains. I turn the knitting pattern and fill in the first single crochet that comes up. We insert the needle and fill the same pattern with double crochet and then 3 chains and 3 crochets. We work the pattern one by one in the same way, then repeat the double crochet in the single crochet. The pattern progresses in the form of 3 chains, 3 double crochets, 1 row of double crochets, 1 row. The row we knit with chains. Look, this way we repeat the pattern and finish with chains. I hope it's understandable. If it seems too complicated at this stage, I shared this pattern with you in a separate video. Some may remember. If you couldn't understand this pattern, I'll share the recipe link up to this point if you write it in the comments. Now we're finishing with chains. Look, I'll show you the piece right away. I worked 62 patterns. I knitted for 13 rows. Now I'm counting the pattern part. When I count those double crocheted parts, these colors turned out really wonderful. Especially with these vertical lines. With this batik yarn, would you look at it? It looks beautiful. It hasn't even steamed yet. Now I'll show these 2 pieces from a wide angle. How do we join them? How do we make them whole? Let's see. Look, I've knitted both pieces and completed them. You can adjust the length of the hand as you like, depending on your body size. There's no problem here. You can adjust the hand length and length as much as you want. You can make blouses, vests, or cardigans with it, whatever you want. You can play around with it like this. If we join the front and back, it will make a beautiful blouse or sweater style thing. We'll also join the underarms, or if you don't join the front, we'll leave a nape opening. You can leave the nape opening at this point and keep the front open. You can also work with a yelek or a cardigan. You can also add long sleeves. In other words, it's an incredibly easy pattern that we can modify in many ways. This pattern also suits this knit really well. Now, since I'm making a blouse in this part, I'll join the edges as a whole. I'll also join the middle part. I'll just leave a neckline here. Look, I'll leave a point where our heads will pass through. I'll leave an armhole and join the bottom section to make it into a blouse. Now, there are many different joining techniques. Look, my yarn was right here. You can adjust the knitting however you like, wherever you want the front and whatever the back. The knitted part of the double crochet stitches is the knitted part of our knitting. Look, the parts in the chain, the backs of the double crochet stitches, are the backs of the knit stitches. Now, I'll zoom in a little bit. I want to show you how I join them. Let's take another look. I'll start at the end, see? I'll join this front piece at the end. I'll leave a sufficient neckline and cut the thread here. Then, starting from the other bottom side, I'll join the back, leaving the neckline at the back. Similarly, I'll join the underarms as I described, leaving armholes. These can be approximately 20, 22 centimeters or 23 centimeters. You can adjust the length to your liking. I'll also leave the front and back neckline equal. I'll make both sides equal. You can leave the neckline as long as you want. Now let's show you how to join it like this. After the double crochet comes the chain stitch. Look, after pulling the last 2 chains and working the double crochet, I'm chaining 1, 2, 3 here and stretching my stitch like this. I'm going to join your piece right away. Look, I'm going to join the 2 ends like this. Once we understand the joining principle here, we'll be able to easily join the other points. Now, I'm going to join it at this corner. I'm inserting my hook into the chain stitch at the corner of the other piece. Look, I've made an insertion right at the corner. I'm taking the stitch I left here and pulling it through the hook. Now at this point, I'm chaining 1, 2, 3. If it's tight, you can chain 4. If it's too much, you can chain 2. You can adjust the number of chains here to your liking. Now I'm going to make the single crochet. There are single crochets right on the pattern. Look, I've reached the single crochet. I slipped a stitch. I slipped it from my waiting stitch. Now chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. We've connected the chain stitches here that immediately correspond to the other pattern. I immediately insert the single crochet of the first pattern into the top. I pick up the stitch from here and pull it through the expected stitch. Chain 1, 2, 3 again. I immediately slip the stitch I slipped into the top of the single crochet of the other pattern and slipped it. Chain 1, 2, 3. See, we're connecting by making zigzags with these chains. We insert the single crochets of each pattern into opposite stitches and connect them at these points. 1, 2, 3. I'm inserting the chain into the single crochet of the next model. I've removed the stitch. I'm making a slip stitch. 1, 2, 3 chains. I'm inserting the single crochet space of the next model. I've removed the stitch from here and I've waited for it to pass. I hope it's understandable. Now when I show it like this, it will be clearer. 123 chains. Look, by making zigzags like this, I hope this explains it clearly. By zigzagging, as I described, the body, front, back, and underarm is joined, leaving an armhole. I'll show it from a wide angle. We'll connect it like this by zigzagging. You can join it with edamine needles. You can do different joins. You can join it with single crochet. This is entirely up to your taste. You can join it however you like. Now you can leave a slit here for the front, back, and underarm sections. Let's finish the join by leaving a slit at the armhole. Let's continue the next step together. Look, I'll just flip the front and back as I described. I assembled it as I described. I assembled 21 models here. I assembled 21 models on the front as well. After I made the final shift on this side, I pulled a chain and cut my yarn. Now I want to show you this part as well. Look, this part is a little darker, but it will be easier to see in this lighter tone. I started by shifting at the end in the same way, then look at the chain points there with the handrail. Look, I want to show you how we're working by inserting the chain points on the edge. I've combined 18 models here. Look, I slipped the 18 chains, pulled a chain, and then cut my thread. We'll hide these threads later. Now let's measure the sleeve opening and collar at this stage. Of course, we'll iron them with a steamer last. There will be some opening. We can calculate this as well. Look, I left a 20 centimeter sleeve opening. Inside the collar, just like this. For the collar, a 16 centimeter opening was enough for me. Now, this can vary depending on your size. This size I prepared can easily be worn by even 38, 40, or 42. You can make these adjustments according to your own size. Look at the underarm area. I've made a connection starting from the hem. You can leave a slit here, but now we'll be embellishing the edge. I want to show you that right away. Let's start with the edge. I'll embellish the hem. Let's start by creating a loop with a chain like this, and I'm crocheting it right away like this. I created the loop and wrapped it with a crochet hook. Look, we can start from this edge part. Let's insert it from any point here. This part seems a little weak to me. Let's attach it here, because we are stuck in chains. I cast off the stitch, I am knitting them both together. Let's put the short yarn in between like this. I started with a direct double crochet by knitting them both together. You can also start with a direct chain. Now what am I doing for the edge decoration so that these short yarns don't confuse us? We will hide them later. Now I am wrapping it around my hook. Look, there are chain transitions here. There are both chain points and points where the pattern is connected. We will always work on these parts. Now after creating the treble crochet at the beginning, I immediately move on to the chain point there. Look, I have knitted a treble crochet here. I'm immediately slipping into this space and working one double crochet first. Look, we've created a triangle. Then I'm working up with 2 chains. We're going to follow the exact same pattern. Actually, I'm just working 2 chains, wrapping them around my hook and working my way back. Look, I'm slipping into our space. I've slipped a stitch. There are 3 stitches. I'm filling in. I'm picking up all 3 at once. I'm working a single crochet. I'm filling in. I've slipped into the same space and slipped a stitch. There are 3 stitches again. I'm filling in. I'm picking up all 3 at once. Now 2 might be enough here. 3 might be enough. I think 3 would be enough. I'm wrapping it into my hook. I dip into the same space a 3rd time and gather all 3 at once. It should be full like this. Now I've wrapped it around the hook. Look, I'm moving on to that point again. I'm immediately dipping into the vertical point like this. I'm knitting a double crochet here. After the double crochet, I'm filling in 2 chains. Look back immediately. I'm knitting 3 single crochets by inserting into the slot I created. I'm picking up 3 stitches at once and repeating this 3 times. I filled it 3 times. Look, I'm going to move to the edge like this. I'm filling in the crochet immediately. I'm going to this chain point. Look, I'm inserting into this vertical point and 1 double crochet. I'm knitting 2 chains, then I'm turning back and filling in here with 3 single crochets. Look, I'm inserting into the points that are vertical to the pole points and turning back 2 chains. I'm doing 3. I'm working a single crochet stitch. This will finish the edge. As I mentioned, you can also create different embellishments. Because I wanted it to have a lot of wave, I worked 2 chains and a single crochet stitch like this. You can also do a double crochet stitch if you like. This way we'll finish the hem all the way to the end of the row. Look at the body like this. I started at the edge. Let's finish the hem by finishing the edge like this. We have completed the bottom part of our blouse. Then I ironed it with a steam iron. I want to show you the bottom right now. We've finished the edge work. By pinning it to the last spot, we've completed the edge detail. I was originally going to move on to the sleeves, but since it was so colorful and flashy, I wanted the sleeves to remain chained like this. Look, we've only worked on the hem of the collar in the same way. When I ironed it with a steam iron, it held together like this because it's acrylic. It opened up beautifully, revealing the pattern. You can leave it off the iron if you like or use less steam, but I'm using a cast-on design. I wanted it to be nice, so I gave it a good steam. When you steam, it practically grows a size. I want to mention that. Our recipe was like this. I hope you like it and try it. I wish everyone the best of luck with this. Don't forget to like our video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video. Goodbye.